Welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us for this webinar today. The whole goal of our presentation here is to show the value that the partnerships between EnOcean, LA Lighting, and All Phase Electric can provide for K through 12 schools through improved efficiency and controllability of spaces. Now, just a couple of housekeeping items. We want to make sure that everyone's aware we will be recording this session. So if you have any colleagues that you think this session would bring value to, we can share the recording. In addition, if you have any questions, please do type those in the question section of the GoToWebinar platform. And we will take care of those questions towards the end of the session. If any questions are relevant to the topic at hand, we'll try and bring those up as well. Also, please note that you will be muted throughout the presentation, so any questions should be typed into the chat platform. All right, so thank you once again for joining us, and I'm going to hand it over to Benjamin Buchanan of LA Lighting.
Great, thank you, Ryan, appreciate it. We are very honored to be here and be a part of this webinar and to have the opportunity to share a little bit about LA Lighting and our partnership with EnOcean and All Phase. So this is a great opportunity to talk about some of the topics that I think are on the top of most of your minds, and hopefully in this short 15-minute session I'll be able to touch on as many of as I can, but please ask as many questions after this as you can. First of all, just want to introduce myself, Benjamin Buchanan. I been in the industry for 25 plus years on the LED and lighting side of things. I was a contractor the first 6 or 7 years and working in a lot of the schools that you guys are in, and have spent a lot of time in schools myself in the industry, and have worked my way through the lighting industry and controls industry. And so this is a kind of an area of the industry that's near and dear to my heart. So I'm excited to speak on these topics. LA Lighting, if you haven't heard of us, we are kind of the last made in America manufacturer of white goods in California, if not, fully in the United States. We are a 100% made in America product line with no imported fixtures at all. So we were founded in 1988 by Bill Shapiro, and his son has taken over the legacy, Robert Shapiro, and is running the company and at the helm. If you want to categorize us, it's probably best to start with interior. We do have a little bit of exterior fixture capabilities, which I'll go through, but the majority is interior, and we call it commercial industrial. We could call it white goods, but focusing in on that category helps us really hone our product offering and our expertise, and be able to offer a very specific strength set to the schools. We started things out in fluorescent almost 40 years ago, and rode the wave through the LED revolution. And because we're not just buying completed fixtures from China that have all been built up already, we really have a true understanding of how LEDs work. We work with all the top LED manufacturers, and so that gives us a very unique capability set for you to be able to leverage in getting the best LEDs for your application. We are made in America. We are BABA compliant. We're BAA compliant. What that really means in the end is that if audited on a project, we are able to provide all of the certificates required to show that our materials origin is in the United States. That would be all of our metals are sourced in the United States. Most of them flat, pre-paint and bare steel that we laser cut and form here in the factory. The plastics all sourced in the United States from the top 2 plastic suppliers. So those are kind of the key components that once you add it up, and BABA is a 55% of the total cost of your fixture, and in BAA is 65%. but in BAA you can use some TAA compliant products, which would be Mexico. So if BABA is a requirement, which, that's really a federal thing, and it's not necessarily a financial requirement on most school projects, but the fact that it's BABA, you can kind of, stand in confidence that it was made in America and that all the components are in America, which I'll get into why that's important. There's an analysis that we've been working on over the last couple of years as we've been competing against import fixtures and working heavily in LAUSD and other schools of the failure rates of the typical import product, of the deterioration rates of plastics and battery packs and different components, and the ability for us to stand behind all of the components that we purchase from our U.S. suppliers, and that we can justifiably say in a very conservative way that our total cost of ownership compared to any or all imports is much lower over, say, a 10-year period. So we've got a lot of calculations to back that up, and we can sit down if this is a discussion that's important, which I feel like it is, especially if we're talking about folks in the sustainability department and the facilities department, people that are really concerned about what is this fixture going to cost me over its lifetime, not just on day one. We can show really good data around our total cost of ownership being 30, 40, 50% less than our competition. And that justifies the slight increase in cost. We're showing an image here of a comparison that we did where there was a 40 or a 4-foot strip fixture with a sensor specified. We were able to replace that with a 3-foot strip fixture because the length didn't matter. But if you buy it from an import, there's 1 lumen package coming out of your 4-foot and 1 lumen package coming out of your 3-foot or your 2-foot. So because we're made in America and we can, right here in El Monte, we can put any LED package we want, we were able to match the lumens of the 4-foot with a 28 watt or 29 watt LED strip with a much higher quality sensor. We ran tests on the sensor that were in that fixture, and they weren't picking up the occupants as well as the customer had wanted. So they were having to put longer delay times on it in order to make up for the fact that they would turn off when you weren't standing right underneath it, things like that. So when you run some of the costs on energy consumption, just between the fact that it was 40 watt to 28 with the same lumen output, and the fact that we're able to get a little tighter on our aux sensors with EnOcean, we're saving $50 extra on that fixture over 10 years. If you take just some very minor increase in quality and the failure rates of batteries and drivers in an import fixture over 10 years versus ours from Signify Advance or Acuity Elda LED, the old OSRAM, another $12 can be added to the fixture maintenance cost over 10 years. So it's a significant cost. Oh, Mark, did you want to say something?
Yeah, Benjamin, your slide's showing the STW100 fixture that LA Lighting makes. And I'm a big fan of that. I've got to let you know. There's a couple of times where I've used it in some of my projects where we're doing soffit work around historic buildings to light up a dome ceiling or something that's got some beautiful architecture to, and they're looking for a specific color temp, but you guys were able to create it. But the best thing about that unit is, and you mentioned some of the other competitors' brands, you make one in a 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8. So no matter what size I have in there, I can really kind of mix and match these units to fit in that space perfectly to provide full lighting in that space. So I just want to say thank you for providing that in so many other sizes where your competitors don't have.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, Mark, because one of the ways that we're helping people with 8-foot fixtures is by providing 6 in their place at the same lumen output. It ends up saving about 20–25% on the cost of the fixture, but then the shipping costs and the potential damages are significantly reduced because, an 8-footer, as you know, has got to ship on like 105-inch pallet, and that takes up 3 pallet positions in a truck. and there's additional fees you got to pay. So a lot of things that we can do when we're working close with Allphase, and they've got the person on site that they can actually get what are your actual needs, not just what do you want to buy out of a catalog. That's a value being made in USA. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Mark. Just kind of going through, these are our typical components that are fully sourced in the US. Flat sheet, we laser cut everything. So we kind of have meticulous control of the outcome of fixtures, which means that we can make all the edges rounded, which I think is really important. They're not going to be snagging your shirts, they're not going to be snagging your finger and ripping your finger off. And that enables us to use pre-paint where some need to use post-paint. Because you're just not going to get cut like you would on a typical stamped out fixture, which just kind of some of those little details that make it a fixture that's easier to install and less potential issues on the project. Drivers, like I said, typically Advance was the old brand, still the brand that's being used, but you know, it's Signify, right? And Eldo LED, which is the old Osram. Those are the two typical drivers. We're doing DMX for those if you've got a theater application. If you need to do RGB, we're doing RGB in high bays now, RGBW, where they want to tie the theater seating area, the auditorium, into the stage lighting and be able to add some color, or maybe the dances are going on in the gym, or they want to do something during halftime. You can tie that into the control system and use DMX drivers, which we use Eldo LED for DMX, and we can tie into those advanced type DMX systems. Our LED boards, Samsung, Signify. With these, Samsung is getting out of the LED industry, kind of a little inside scoop, and we are going to be moving to a new chipset. And in that new chipset, we're going to be pushing our efficiency up on our standard offering, very close to 200 lumens per watt. So we're very excited about that move. Only name brand top tier batteries. One of the biggest issues with batteries, they're very expensive. And if you have a no name import battery, they are known to die fairly rapidly, and you've got to have those active, you know, for the life of the building. So, you know, you'll end up replacing an import brand multiple times before you're going to have to replace an Iota, you know, or Fulham battery. Like I said, indoor line, most specifically, all the typical types of fixtures. We're finding out that people are installing a lot of flat panel fixtures. We've looked at flat panel fixtures. We're considering getting into the flat panel, but in order for us to get into the flat panel, we have some significant changes that we want to make versus what's coming from overseas. We want to be able, like with all of our fixtures, to be able to allow the LEDs to be updated. So in 10 years, when you want to update this fixture to a 300 lumen per watt package, then you want to have an easy path to do that. You don't want to have to replace the fixture and toss out the old fixture and put in the new fixture. We want all the components to be easily changed for warranty, the drivers, the LEDs, and that's all nearly impossible with flat panels. So even a very challenging thing we're hearing these days to get a prismatic troffer. Which is still, you know, the best way to do a diffused fixture as opposed to smooth white plastic. So we're selling prismatic troffers every day. So if you need prismatic, you know, we definitely have it. Kind of going through some of the basics with the schools that we do, a lot of high bays. We have that WBE wraparound. We have other wraparounds. Recessed troffers, surface mount troffers. The BCL 100 canopy fixture is one of our most popular school fixtures. This is what's in the hallways, the exterior hallways, and it is built to last. It can take some serious hits. I'm not going to say hit it with. I'm not going to, you know, warranty this thing on a forklift or a baseball bat, but I've seen it get hit with some pretty hectic things and take the hit. It is a very thick polycarbonate lens and a very thick gauge steel.
Well, Benjamin, it's, you know, that is a pretty durable fixture that you guys got there. In fact, I was working with one of the school districts and they were having issues with kids with their skateboards bashing the lens out of it. So we worked with you guys pretty closely to develop a flat lens for that unit. Problem solved, the school district loved it. And with the controls that EnOcean provides, it was a home run. So thank you for that too.
Yeah, remember that those customizable capabilities of being able to make this locally, I think is something that's very important for the community. I think having the ability to design a fixture to what you need is very important. So that takes us to kind of the one of the closing topics that I want to talk about. We really believe in retrofits here. We believe that the total carbon footprint of a retrofit is significantly lighter than a new fixture, and you should always consider keeping the existing fixture before jumping to replacing it. You all know better than anybody, once you replace a fixture, if there are asbestos issues, you're always going to have that. You're going to have paint issues. You're going to have potential damage to the ceiling that might not be the newest ceiling on the planet, and you're just going to end up having much longer installation time. So doing a retrofit, if you probably have experience with this, if you bought from LA Lighting or in LAUSD or others local here, you probably have seen these kits go in 5 to 15 minutes, somewhere in that range, which is a quarter of a new fixture, and that enables you to finish classrooms faster, and that helps you do projects faster, and they're usually half the cost of a fixture, so that enables you to do twice as many fixtures for the same budget. So we do have a baseline of retrofits for a lot of fixtures that we've been retrofitting for 40 years. But if there is something that is custom, we can do custom. And these are a couple custom kits that we've done just recently here. In fact, that 18 there, Mark, you'll recognize that. There are some really nice fixtures out there, really nice fixtures that are rolled steel, rolled aluminum, extruded aluminum, things that were put in and paid $500 a foot, linear fixtures, that to throw those out to go with some new fixture that's absolutely unnecessary, because the look of that fixture is so beautiful and it's the top quality fixture, but it's fluorescent. Let's retrofit it a fraction of the cost, because it's not like you're in the thousands of dollars per foot, linear foot these days with a similar fixture. So let's work out a custom kit. The one on the left there, that's an up and down kit. It was a linear, direct, indirect, pendant hung fixture. And then of course we can do troffers, and we can do all sorts of other custom retrofit. I just kind of wanted to note in closing that we have parabolic retrofit kits as well. The industry is slowing down on the replacement of parabolic fixtures. I know that might sound crazy, but it's true. The volumetric or the panel isn't always the best application for every single interior office or classroom application. So the parabolics have that nice cutoff. They don't provide the same level of glare, and it gives us all the capability of not having to replace a beautiful fixture that was designed optically for that environment. So we can do retrofits. We can even replace the parabolics, because we are actually the last parabolic manufacturer actually making parabolics here in the US. So if you have a bunch of damaged parabolics, we could replace those as well. So very interesting capabilities that we have here. And just kind of a couple of us. But guys, thank you so much for the opportunity to share, and I will turn it back over to Ryan.
Yeah, thank you, Benjamin. And I can attest to the beauty of the parabolic retrofit kits that you guys are making. I saw it Light Fair last week, and it's pretty amazing stuff. So great work by the LA Lighting team.
Thank you.
Give me just 1 second, and I will on my presentation.
Those are wonderful pictures of the San Bernardino Community College District. I was fortunate enough to be on that team to create that project, and it was a zero energy consumption project that Edison was watching over pretty closely, and we hit a home run. The district got a $300,000 check for their efforts. It's a good one.
Right on. All right, so thank you to Benjamin for showing off the capabilities of LA Lighting. It's a great partnership that we have with their group, and one of the really great features that they enable is actually incorporating our technology into the fixture in advance, and I'm sure Mark will touch on some of that as we go through the presentation. So to give you some background about EnOcean, and it looks like my screen may not be showing properly. Can I get some feedback from the group here? I apologize.
I'm not seeing it yet.
Not in presentation mode.
Yeah, okay. Let me see what I need to do.
So with this downtime, I'm going to jump in and
Yeah, thank you.
remind everybody about the EnOcean capabilities. The wonderful partnership that they have with the manufacturers. Manufacturers can pre-install all the relays into these fixtures, even the retrofits, to make the end user's labor cost much less. It's a plug and play, and it works out pretty good. And I think you'll see a little video coming up here that they kicked me into doing. It was an accident. I just happened to be on site with a cup of coffee, and they allowed me to talk about some of the stuff that was going on in there, and it worked out pretty well. And it's a huge advantage. So I'll let Brian go, but yeah, it's a big plus.
Thank you, Mark, and I apologize for the technical difficulties, but I'm going to manage with what we got. So I believe you can see my screen. It's not exactly in presentation mode, but
Yes.
I'm trying to maximize what I got. So to give you some background on EnOcean, we were founded in the mid 2000s, around 2005, 2006, with the goal of introducing the idea of not just wireless controls, but energy harvesting wireless controls. And what that means is that all of our devices that you would see in a space use some sort of technology to harvest the ambient energy around it, whether it be movement, light, or temperature. And I'll jump into that aspect of the conversation further. But what I want to start with is some regulations that are broadly affecting the use of controls, as well as some of the key areas where I think we added value with respect to putting controls in a space. So what the slide we're looking at here is the language from the 2023 National Electric Code. As you might be aware, the code bodies update the NEC code approximately every 2 to 3 years, and then states will adopt on a similar basis, but they're typically about, I would say, 3 to 5 years behind the actual code introduction. So this isn't something that would be applicable to you today, but something you might want to think about over the next 3 to 5 years as these codes become adopted in your states. So this particular section, NFPA Article 210, was specifically talking about the controllability of lighting outlets. And this is specific to areas that are termed habitable spaces. So if you, for instance, if your education facility is a dorm facility, for example, this might be applicable to you, as you would have students on campus living in those environments. So anyways, the original introduction of this code, they stated that any wireless controls that was relying solely on battery power, originally they wanted to completely eliminate the idea of having battery powered wireless switches in bedrooms, dorm rooms, hotel rooms, those types of areas where we would live and sleep. They did kind of pull back after the 45-day language period and stated, okay, well, we won't completely eliminate battery powered devices, but they must have an LED indicator to tell the occupant, the user, that the battery is about to go out. So the original intent here is about safety. That's really what the NEC code touches on, is the idea of safety in spaces. So thought it was an important thing to touch on with respect to our technology and how we might be able to add safety, as well as the idea of additional savings in your spaces.
Can I add to that?
Yes, please, Mark.
That's a great topic to hit on. And the whole no battery thing is really important. So if you think about it, that's a great feature and it makes sense. But in the real world, application, if I have a school that has, say, 100 classrooms in, or a college or university, and all of a sudden those lights start blinking, I'm talking 2-3 full days with batteries to go around and change them.
Mhm.
Whereas your product, much better, much better. We don't have to worry about that at all. Kinetic energy switches are the way to go, and I'm happy that you guys have them. I've brought this to the forefront of my clients, and they agree. Even though, yes, batteries are an option, nobody wants to use it. So thank you for your product.
Thank you for that touch, Mark. Appreciate it. Yeah, in addition to the National Electric Code, depending on which state you're in, there are also energy codes that are adopted across the country. Depending on where you are, in many cases, the entire state will adopt a code. So if you're looking at the right of the screen here, the greener the state looks, the more advanced energy code they have adopted. So for example, if we're looking at Montana and the Evergreen, they've adopted ASHRAE 90.1 2019 or the IECC equivalent. There are 3 main codes that are adopted around the country, or I should say 2 main codes adopted around the country and a third that ties specifically to the state that LA Lighting and Allphase is located in, and that would be Title 24. But typically most other states will adopt either an IECC equivalent or ASHRAE 90.1. And that's what the graph on the left is showing here is from the adoption of codes in approximately, I think it was 1978, when ASHRAE and IECC were developed. You'll see the steady step down to the 2019 and 2021 code versions respectively, which basically just indicates increased efficiency standards for lighting manufacturers like LA Lighting. That means more efficient fixtures. And for lighting controls manufacturers like ourselves, that means added feature sets like daylighting control, dimming capabilities, and now conversations around the idea of color control capabilities in spaces. So we'll continue to see every 3 years these codes advanced and adopted and learn some new and interesting things that will be coming in the coming years as well. So back to EnOcean and the value that we provide. Mark mentioned our kinetic powered switches. So simply by pressing on the button itself, we're harvesting that kinetic energy from the button press, which allows us to provide wireless communication through our ultra low power EnOcean protocol to provide communication capability up to 100 feet in interior spaces. So in addition to kinetic, we also harvest through solar, and I'll touch on that. And then we do also have the capability through some of our plumbing application technologies to harvest through temperature difference. You may see this on some of our partner sites and spec sheets, and this just indicates that our customers are utilizing our battery-free technology, and you can trust that it's a quality and a high-quality product that will provide communication and control of your spaces for many years to come without any maintenance required. So here's a layout of the different options that we have for kinetic, for energy harvesting. Kinetic being first. Solar is one that we quite commonly use when you're looking at our occupancy sensing devices, temperature measuring devices, as well as humidity. In addition to, we have partners that manufacture thermostats and many other device types that can add additional value. And in addition to lighting control, you can also do broader HVAC and building controls as well. And then I mentioned temperature differentiation in many plumbing applications like leak detection, for example. Here's a look at some of the different device types. So on the top left here are our kinetic switches. We offer simple 2-button rocker switch, as well as a 4-button switch that, depending on the control type that you have or the fixture type, these switches can provide both on-off switching capability as well as dimming and color control if you'd like to incorporate that into your spaces. Our solar powered solutions, these are the different sensor types that you would see in your space, from occupancy and daylighting control with our EMDC sensor, which I'll dive a little bit deeper into. The square device that you're seeing just to the left of that is our multi-sensor. This provides daylighting control, temperature and humidity assessment. It has an accelerometer built into it so we can understand the X, Y, Z coordinates. So if you had it affixed to a door or had it at desktop level, we could actually detect occupancy based upon the accelerometer, the vibration, just simply by sitting and being around that device. And then lastly, we have transceiver devices that really enable the control overall, whether it be a relay pack style device that provides the on-off switching and dimming for the fixtures in the space. We also have an HVAC module that is similar but powered by a low voltage that allows for control of VAV boxes and other HVAC components. And we also have oh yeah, please do, Mark.
I got to jump in. I mean, all this stuff sounds wonderful, but in the real application world where I come from, you can create yourself a smart building, just flat out smart building, hands-free. And the beauty behind your system, it is literally wireless. Other companies will kind of touch that, oh, their system's wireless, but they end up running Cat5, Cat6, whatever, throughout the building to make their system kind of wireless, but it's not true. So again, I take off my hat to you guys for being able to do complete wireless and turn many of my projects into smart buildings, and that's how I push your product. I was able to tell them some of the other projects that I've completed, and being able to use those clients as references, they actually got on the phone and called them to ask them, is it really a smart building now? And sure enough, it really is. And that's due to the EnOcean components. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that input, Mark. That's a great point. And one thing that I'd like to add to that is our devices are typically just standalone. So you do not need to have a cloud connection. You don't need any extra bells and whistles other than simply the devices. They can be configured just by simply utilizing the configuration buttons on the LED roue and the switches themselves. And then I'll also talk to a simple platform that we have for configuration of devices through a digital means that makes it very simple and easy to see how the connections of the devices are, as well as fine-tuning time delays for your occupancy sensors, as well as configure your daylighting controls. So here's once again a look at our different switch types. This is mainly speaking to the EnOcean protocol. We do also offer Bluetooth as well as Zigbee flavors of these devices. So if you're looking at another controls platform, please don't think that you don't have the capability of incorporating kinetic or energy harvesting devices. In many cases, we do have that capability. So if you're looking at another controls ecosystem, you still may be able to incorporate energy harvesting as well into those systems. Similarly, with our solar powered sensors, we offer those obviously in our EnOcean protocol, but we can also provide those in other protocols as well. Here's a closer look at our EMDC. The key feature that I wanted to point out here is the idea of people activity counting. So what we can do with this device is not only provide you with basic occupancy control, but we can also give you indications of the hotspots of particular areas. So if you're in an office environment in your school districts, you could utilize this to give you an idea of the areas of the office that are most occupied and least occupied, to give you a better utilization of those spaces and provide additional feedback to your facilities teams.
You know, I'd like to just kind of add something to that, Ryan. in a lot of school districts have had discussions in the superintendents and then down in the executive who are very interested in classroom management and understanding how often their classrooms are actually being occupied, and that's oftentimes a basic unknown, and that just high level data opens up so many organizational opportunities for them to be able to organize the school better, more efficiently, use the classrooms, and it's surprising, you know, because they didn't have that data before, so it hasn't even been available. But as soon as they get that data, what they can start doing, even just by plugging it into AI and start to see, you know, how better to use this space with these kids, and et cetera, et cetera. So very valuable, I think, for schools. And, you know, there's other systems that do it, but they do it for, you know, 10x the cost. So this is a really neat feature of your system.
Awesome. Thank you for that input, Benjamin. So actuator devices, so these would be load control devices. So the device on the far left, we call our LEDRU or LEDRU unit. This provides on-off as well as 0 to 10 volt control capabilities. We do have partners within our EnOcean ecosystem here in North America. If you're looking to do, you know, forward phase dimming control or some other exotic type of dimming control that we could point you to that would work with our system. But our LEDRU unit, I think approximately 80% or 85% of fixtures these days have 0 to 10 volt controls built into them. This will work for you in many of those applications. The device in the middle, our LEDRU AU, the AU stands for auxiliary input and output. This device gives you the capability of not only controlling your fixtures, but we could also interface with a third-party system, whether it be the system wants to override the lights on or off for a particular reason, or on the other end, you want to provide an occupancy status via a low voltage contact closure, for example. That's quite common in HVAC systems here in the United States. We can utilize the LEDRU auxiliary output to give that indication to an HVAC system very simply with a low voltage dry contact. Or if you want to use our HVAC setback module, which is built specifically for those interfaces, this device is great. Takes a 12 to 24 volt input voltage that many VAV boxes and HVAC systems can provide, and give you a simple interface for incorporating temperature and occupancy control into your facilities. So in essence, for smart lighting, this would be kind of the bill of materials that you would be looking at. You've got either a center ceiling mount in the EMDC. Just to the left of that is our wall or corner mount sensor, a LEDRU unit, some switches, and a transceiver device to help you configure, and you're good to go. That's all you need to do simple lighting control with the EnOcean system. If you want to incorporate HVAC controls, we might point you to a temperature and humidity sensor, perhaps our multi-sensor, and then your HVAC interface device. Now, I mentioned the capability of configuring our devices through a digital interface. We have a platform we call Navigan. This is a free download from our website. It's a free software package. What it does require is our NWC 500U. This is our Navigan USB transmission device, and that's what allows communication from your computer, from the software, to the system that you have installed in your school facility. And this is kind of what it would look like in the space. You plug your NWC into your PC, and then you would have the capability of communicating with all of your devices that are within a 100-foot proximity of your computer. You'll be able to see all devices as well as configure them, connect your sensors to the proper load controller, connect your switches to the load controllers, and give you the capability of fine-tuning your time delays, for example, or other aspects of the system. In addition to those interfaces, we also have a means of getting our information, the EnOcean data, into the cloud. One option would be our Smart Server IoT. This interfaces with all major building management systems on the market today, whether it be BACnet or BACnet certified now, Modbus, or LawnWorks. Another means outside of our Smart Server is we have high-level partnerships with some of the key manufacturers and networking equipment. Aruba Networks is one of those. We're part of their Zero Trust network. And basically what that means is you can utilize one of our USB transceivers, plug it directly into an Aruba access point, and that would get you EnOcean data from your building into the cloud through an encrypted means, where you would be able to visualize all of your information through our EnOcean IoT connector at any point in time without adding any additional hubs or any additional networking equipment within your facility. So it's a really efficient and simple way of utilizing the existing building networking infrastructure that you have, leveraging that and providing additional data for your school districts. I'm going to jump over this one.
Look what I have here.
Oh, hey.
This looks like it's the plug and play Navigant system to do your commissioning. I got to say, I got to bring up more points. I had 2 cups of coffee, so I'm not going to shut up here. So I've got the Navigant system. I've learned how to do the commissioning. It's really simple for a layman like myself. One thing that I want to touch on is if you're doing a school district of any kind, of any size, you'll know that there's multiple rooms. They're going to require the same kind of commissioning throughout. To make it easy for the guys at the site, whether it's the maintenance operation facility or the maintenance guy on the site, they can go ahead and commission it, save it in your system, and email it to the next guy. So instead of having to do the recommissioning, they can just plug and play the old control system that you already designed for that classroom to each one of the classrooms. You know, that's cost savings right there again. So just wanted to bring that little part up.
That's a great point. You know, so if you know, if you're part of a school district that's very good at you know, maintaining your paperwork, if you will, or maintaining the files that you utilize for particular spaces, Mark has a great point there. You can plug and play, save those files so you have consistent operation throughout your facilities. I would also like to point out that you don't have to do that. You can walk into a room with a Navigan USB device that Mark just showed, not know what the settings are, and actually just simply pull those in and understand what the set points are in a system at any point in time. So it does definitely add value to maintain those files and you know, keep good track of them, but it's not required. It's not a requirement. You know, if you work in a more ad hoc approach, if you will, you have the capability of maintaining your system without having to have that granular control of your files. But Mark brings up a great point there. So before we jump into the final video and transition to Q&A, just wanted to point out that, you know, we can provide value as EnOcean, as well as with our partnership with LA Lighting, to all levels of the channel with respect to adding lighting and building controls to your spaces. So with that, I'm going to jump into the video.
We're sitting right now in a typical K through 12 multi-purpose room and auditorium. Hi, my name is Mark Jarrell with All-Phase Electric Supply. I've been using EnOcean products for probably 15 years now, and I really appreciate the ease of installation and functionality of the product. We have complete lighting controls with this unit, and we can also control multiple things like the HVAC system, mini blinds, solar tube dampeners. Our end users, the schools themselves, appreciate the function as well. With wireless technology, we don't have to run external cables on cement walls. We don't have to run additional cable wire boxes. So the installation side of this whole process is much more affordable with great function. Typical K through 12 or other higher education sometimes use a complex system like this to operate the lighting. A lot of failures. Or you can use an EnOcean product like this. Much simpler, much more functional. One of these in each fixture and a switch, and you're good to go. Another great feature of the EnOcean products is we can pre-install the relays into the fixtures prior to installation. This again makes the whole process much quicker and easier, much more affordable on the labor side as well. This multi-purpose room had existing fixtures already, so all we had to do was install the LED RUs into the fixtures, commission them, and we were on our way.
EnOcean lighting controls are ideal for K through 12 applications. We can help you reduce initial installation costs together with our lighting partners, eliminate the need for batteries and wireless devices, creating a fully sustainable solution. You simply install the products and allow them to function.
All right, it looks like we have one question about long-term service contracts or assistance with projects. Mark, I don't know, I think you're a good resource to speak to that and our partnership as well as that of LA Lighting. I'll let you take that one.
All right, well, service contracts, that's a great point. So as you know, as everybody else out there in the electrical world and lighting world knows, that there's a lot of different control companies out there. Each one of them charges a large sum for a service contract. And it's kind of hard to swallow when you have to include that in an estimate when you do a project. Fortunately for me and the relationship I have with EnOcean, we have Johnny on the spot service at no charge, either through myself knowing the system and being able to correct stuff on the side. That was great. I love that. So yeah, so the service contract is really high. So the service contract's fantastic. There is none with EnOcean. They are proactive on actually teaching. I put together meetings with my clients and gather 20 to 30 of my main supervisors together and teach them how to do the commissioning and troubleshooting. And being able to give them the education and knowledge to do that is huge. They don't have to rely on anybody else if something goes down. Though we've had some projects where it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and they need something fixed right away. I was able to get a Jerry, which is one of the guys with EnOcean, great guy. He jumped on the phone, shared a screen, was able to recommission the project, the room, within like 10, 15 minutes. Everybody said goodbye and had a wonderful evening. The next day, school was in session, everything worked great. Now you try to do that with another controls company, and you first have to set up an appointment, and it's probably going to be a week or two away. And throughout this whole time, you're still paying for that, and the problem isn't solved. So being able to have somebody in the field that understands the system and you can call on, or somebody at the factory that you can call on, is huge. So I think that might have answered the question on service contracts. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think you answered it well. Thank you, Mark. And Benjamin, looks like I got one geared towards you with respect to, what are some of the most common retrofit applications that you see in K through 12, and what is it like working with LA Lighting with respect to your custom options and lead times?
Okay, great, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about that because it is an important thing to kind of know what our capabilities are. The number one retrofit is the wrap. So the typical wrap that you'll get, that 9-inch, 11-inch, 13-inch wrap, the wraparound lens. That is our #1 seller. We also retrofit a lot of strip fixtures. So those are the basics. Then you move into the troffers, and a retrofit kit for the troffers is also big. What we see kind of peppered in kind of custom retrofits are those linears, the direct indirect cable hung linears, and those are a little bit different than the wraps. The wraps are right on the spec. You know, you'll find those wraps and the part numbers and pricing in the spec, because it's pretty common fixtures that have been used across the district. But the customs, you're going to come in, you're going to probably submit. Either we'll visit the site or Mark will visit the site, take some measurements, take some photos, etc. Maybe pull some of the components out of the inside if there's a ballast tray or something like that we're going to mimic. And get the holes to line up and things like that, so that it's a faster install. If we can get the fixture, that's also helpful. Not necessary all the time, but that's very helpful. And then, you know, of course, we'd return it after we did our engineering analysis on it. There's a week or so period, maybe sometimes two, depending on how complex it is, to design the reflector or kit, and then we would then quote it through Allphase, and you know, you get your pricing and be able to proceed. Lead times on kits are not very long, because the kits are not extravagant, and we're not, and all of it's made in-house, so it's not like we have to send out for it. So our typical lead times are 1 to 3 weeks, and you know, if we got to push something for you, you know, we can obviously do that. But so you got two weeks of engineering max and 3 weeks of production. And so we do will call out of our facility, and of course, so does Allphase.
So he brushed over troffers. I've got to expand on that, buddy. You do a great job with your troffers. But when you talk about troffers, typically it's a 2x4 fixture. So take that a step further and say any 2x4 fixture. So we're talking surface mount, we're talking pendant mount, or hung, or high bay, and a lot of them are high bay, 2x4 fixture. They can create they already have a retrofit for that, less than 5 minutes to install, pre-installed LED RUs in those things, so it's wireless communication. It's a home run. They can go ahead and design the lumens. We'll go ahead and I'll do the dimensions of the room and provide adequate information for LA Lighting to provide photometrics, and they do a great job of that. So we get the exact lumen package that you actually need, you know, for IES or OSHA requirements. A lot of the school districts have their own foot candle requirements on the ground, and if you incorporate the EnOcean daylight harvesting, your energy consumption comes way down. If you have windows, skylights, you're not actually having those lights on all the time, but you're still providing safe working conditions. So both.
Another adder to that, Mark, I appreciate you pushing that a little bit further, is that we do a fair amount of retrofit on exterior fixtures as well. I did start the presentation out that we're mainly an interior line, but you know, there's a lot of induction fixtures out there. There's a lot of fluorescent area lighters that are out there that are used in parking lots, etc., that can very easily be retrofit to an LED, not have to spend hundreds of dollars on a new fixture, retrofit it with you know, oftentimes a kit that already exists. I don't even have to do it custom. So that's important to note too.
I got another one if we got a little downtime here. Just you got to thank the coffee for this. Cheers, guys. So EnOcean, what a great product. So we're now having these school districts with schools that have been built maybe 10 years ago with full control packages integrated in them. And I won't mention any names, LCD or Douglas, excuse me, that are failing dramatically, and they're no longer in business. So what are the school districts doing? No components are available. We come in and save the day. So we go ahead and utilize EnOcean as a temporary fix, and then move into a full school solution. And the district's already familiar with using it, familiar with commissioning it. It's a really fast, easy fix for those districts and cities that I also work with that have large-scale control systems where they actually have a full room that is their control system for their lighting. We can eliminate all that, turn that into another office, if you will, just by using the EnOcean protocol.
Yeah, and just to speak a little bit further on that, with the partnership that we have with LA Lighting and through Allphase, LA Lighting will gladly incorporate the LED-RU unit into those individual retrofit kits. So, whether you have legacy wiring from, the 60s, 70s that's in these buildings, not only do you not have to update the wiring infrastructure in your space, you can utilize the existing fixtures, simply put in an LA Lighting retrofit kit that incorporates the LED-RU, and you've now upgraded your system from perhaps not even having any lighting controls to now incorporating individual fixture control, not just zone-based control. So you can get really granular with it.
Here's another practical application that I was able to offer one of my clients. They had a big presentation room, big screen behind them. They had cove lighting throughout this giant auditorium, and they had the typical switches on the walls at each exit. I was able to say, let's upgrade this and provide you with a little bit more controls. And they're like, well, what can you do? Let's go ahead and Velcro a double toggle switch, EnOcean switch, to the podium. So now all of a sudden the presenter has control over the lights. So if something comes up on the screen behind them, they simply push the button and the lights go down behind them so people can see the screen better. They also had control over the cove and field lighting. Doesn't take anything away from the normal switches at the doors, but I was able to provide them with so much more that they weren't aware of. So they were very grateful for that, and it was a home run again. Well, how about one more application since nobody's talking?
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Sorry.
So we had this, it was a Los Angeles downtown Los Angeles project, auto conduct. It was a large auto facility where they house exotic cars, as well as do commercials and some wonderful projects there. And they came to me knowing that I'm in the car world and also in the lighting world. So they're like, hey, Mark, it'd be great if, you can get me some lights so I can turn these lights on and off. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think you want that. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, how about we do this? You've got some exotic cars. You've got some McLarens, you've got some Ferraris, you have these beautiful cars with wonderful clients, and you've got 40 lifts around this whole perimeter. That's, 80 cars. Wouldn't it be nice if one of your clients called you from the golf course and said, hey, I'm here golfing with my buddies, and they don't believe I've got the newest McLaren. Can you send me a pic? How about this? They bring the car off the lift, they wheel it out in front of the whole field. We dim the lights down around the whole facility to like a 2800 Kelvin, a nice soft yellow look. And with that same deal with the controls, we can go ahead and highlight that McLaren at 5000 Kelvin temperature with a much brighter light. Oh, it looks beautiful. And all this on the phone. Snap the picture, send it to the client within seconds. They're like, what? Can we do that? I said, yes, you can. And we utilize your controls with that. So you got to think outside the box when you have this kind of technology. It's great for the typical dim up and down and do whatever, smart building, but you could do so much more if you think outside the box.
Indeed. Yeah, thank you for those practical application tips, Mark. Your experience has been showing in this webinar, so we really appreciate having you on the call.
I think it's just the coffee talking, but that's okay.
All right, well, we're now at time, so I want to thank my co-presenters, Benjamin Buchanan of LA Lighting and Mark Jarrell of Allphase, for joining us today. I hope that this was a valuable session for all that attended. And we all, the three of us, look forward to hopefully supporting you on projects in the near future and in the years to come.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you putting this together. Thank you all for having us.
It was a pleasure.
Awesome. All right. Have a great day, everyone, and goodbye.